the ways we use DiSC is helping teams become more effective, more functional, more productive together, and happier. There's lots of ways that team culture arises. We see it in how people make decisions, how they talk to each other, how they get the jobs done, how they resolve conflict. All those things are part of the norms that make up team culture. So when it comes to good, effective team functioning, there's a couple of things to consider. One is that you need to be smart, you need to know what you're doing, you need to have good structures and strategies, you need to have the right technology, you need to have that strategic vision. All of that's really important to have on a team. The other piece that's very important is that teams are healthy, that they have good flow of communication, that they work well together, that they get each other, they support each other. And we often see where teams go sideways, it's not because this is not a group of smart people, it's because somehow the communication is broken down, somehow the relationships are broken down. So one of the tools that we use to help restore a healthy team and get people back on the same page together is the DiSC tool. And one of the things we look at is, what is the culture of this team? What is the climate? How does it feel working on this team? And what's interesting to look at is that every DiSC profile kind of matches a particular team culture. So for example, if you have a lot of people on a team that have that high D, that high driver, dominant style, that culture, that group culture will be a fast-paced, driven, results-oriented, focus on getting the job done, not so much focus on the relationships, not so much focus on how are you doing, it's is the job getting done or not. It's a team that loves a challenge, that's always on the move. So that would be a dominant style culture. But if I'm a steadiness style, I might feel a little bit railroaded, might feel a bit overwhelmed, and maybe a little bit frustrated that my voice and what I have to contribute isn't getting heard because it's such a fast-paced environment. If I'm an influence style, I might enjoy the fast pace of this team, but I might feel like I'm missing out on some of the recognition for the contributions that I've made to getting us to where we need to go. And if I'm a conscientious style, I might worry that we're so focused on getting the job done that we're not doing it right. We're not paying attention to some of those details. So that might cause me some anxiety. So everyone has a different experience of being on in a D culture. And it's very important for us to be aware of how we can bring out the different styles, strengths. If you have a team that's a lot of fun to be on, people are really friendly, it's a bit more of an informal atmosphere, you might be on an influence style group culture, an influence culture. And people are at ease with each other, they share information, they like to work collaboratively, and it's a bit more of an informal atmosphere. So lots of fun, a bit more social. The dominant style likes the innovative thinking that goes along with that I culture, and likes that there's lots of action. Maybe some of those high D styles will get a little bit frustrated with the socializing that goes on. They might feel like we're not getting down to it fast enough. So that's something that a high D might experience in an I culture. If it's a steadiness style person, they're going to feel that they're kind of on the same page. They appreciate the collaborative nature of the work, and they appreciate the friendly culture. But something about a steadiness style is that sometimes they need a little bit more time to think through what we're doing, and in a meeting, again, might feel that they're not necessarily being heard on that team, maybe getting pulled along by the enthusiasm of all these high influence styles on the team. So that's how the steadiness might experience the influence style team. And the conscientiousness, they might get a little bit frustrated with that informal, casual team environment, and might feel a bit frustrated that some of the things aren't getting followed through on, or that there isn't the attention to detail that we need to have. So there could be some frustration if you're conscientiousness in an I culture. In a steadiness culture, you'll notice that it's probably a bit of a more quiet team that you're on, very steady, deliberate, People that are very well organized. They know exactly what they're doing, what their jobs are, and how to do them well. Very loyal to each other, very loyal to the organization. If you're an influence style, you'll appreciate that attention to team morale, and you'll appreciate being in a collaborative environment. One thing you might notice though is that you really want to bounce ideas off of someone, and you've got steadiness colleagues who like to process things more internally, more quietly, and you might miss that, being able to just bounce ideas off freely from some of your colleagues. If you're conscientiousness, again, you appreciate the steadiness, attention to getting the job done, and their thoroughness and their logical approach. But one thing you might be a little bit confused by is that steadiness really care about each other, and they really want to listen and make sure that people are in a good working relationship with each other. And when you're in your C zone, you're really just looking at, let's get this job done and let's get it done right. So you might not quite get the importance that the team relationships play for steadiness. And if you're dominant style, again, you might be a little bit impatient with the steadiness because they're more thorough, they're very steady, but they do need some time to process. They do need some time to deliberate and to think about that change or to think about that initiative. And if you're a high D, you want that sense of urgency, and you don't feel you're getting it from the steadiness sometimes. And if you're on a team where accuracy, precision, doing things well and doing it right is the norm, you're probably in a conscientiousness or C culture. In that kind of a culture, the influence style might feel a little bit out of their element because they like that social relationship. They might wonder, what are my teammates thinking? What are they feeling? What's going on in their heads? And the conscientiousness style is, again, a more internal style, likes to think things through, to analyze. They have a very logical approach. They do not have an emotional approach to getting the job done. And the influence style, sometimes when there can be a bit of disconnect, the influence style wondering what's going on with their team members. With a dominant style in a C culture, they appreciate that task focus. They are totally online with that. But they might get a little bit impatient with the conscientious style in their drive for perfection and their desire to analyze the pros and cons of a situation or a decision. The D's motto is like, let's just do it. And the C's are saying, yeah, let's do it, but let's get it right. The steadiness style will appreciate that thorough, logical approach to getting the job done, and they also really appreciate the relationship value of a team, and they might sometimes wish that they had a little bit more of that connection, the relationship connection in the team. That the conscientious style is just not on their radar as much. So every team has its own predominant DiSC culture. Here's a few things to remember for those members of your team that are in the minority in your team culture. If you have someone who's high D, remember to leverage their drive, their impatience to get results. That is such a benefit to your team. If you've got someone who's high I, remember to give them that opportunity to collaborate, because you can benefit so much from the creativity that comes from that collaboration and from their ability to inspire others. If you have someone who is a high steadiness style, you will benefit from their thoroughness, from their ability to think through situations and challenges. You'll benefit from their quiet brilliance. And if you have someone who's C, remember to appreciate that precision and that great ability to analyze and to think through, again, challenges and situations. Your team will benefit from their drive to get things right. So I'm going to leave you with 3 steps that can help you make good use of the material that we've just covered. The first step is identify your team's predominant DiSC culture. Second step, identify the strengths that each of your team members brings to the team. And 3 is have the conversation. Have a conversation about what's working on your team. What are we doing that works well? And what could we do differently that would help us be even more effective together? To get some more information on how to work these 3 steps, please download our worksheet. It will give you lots more information and it will really make a difference in how you function as a team.